The sky above planet Cora 7 was a dull orange, filled with thick clouds of dust that never cleared. Wind howled across the dry ground, picking up sharp particles that scratched anything they touched. A single ship broke through the cloud layer and landed near the edge of a stone valley. The ship was small, silver, and shaped like a bird's wing. Inside the cockpit, a man named Darren adjusted the controls and checked the landing gear. He was 30 years old, calm and focused. His mission was not easy. He had come alone. Earth's Unity Council had chosen him after the strange signal was picked up 2 months ago. That signal was old, broken, and partly in a language never seen before. But it also had something strange. It spoke Darren's name. Darren stepped out of the ship. His boots crunched on the hard ground. The wind pulled at his jacket. He looked around. In front of him stood the ruins of a giant temple. It was carved into the cliffs, half covered by red sand and stone. Pillars were cracked, doors broken, and statues worn smooth by time. The temple looked ancient. It also looked like it had not been touched in thousands of years. He walked slowly toward the entrance. His helmet visor showed strange energy levels coming from inside. Nothing dangerous, but definitely not natural. He held a small scanner in one hand and a light in the other. As he stepped through the doorway, everything changed. The wind stopped. The air inside the temple was still and warm. The walls were covered in symbols that glowed softly, like they remembered light. The glow came in lines, moving along the stone like water. Darren stepped forward carefully, watching the floor. Dust covered everything, but there were no footprints. Nobody had entered for a long time. Then he heard something. It was not a sound, but more like a feeling inside his head. A whisper without words. A thought that was not his own. He froze and looked around. The chamber was empty. Statues stood tall, showing strange creatures with long limbs and sharp crowns. Their eyes were like glass. Their faces were unreadable. Darren moved deeper into the temple. The whisper grew louder. His scanner blinked red, then shut down. The light in his hand flickered. He took a deep breath and kept walking. At the center of the temple, the hallway opened into a large circular room. The ceiling had fallen in some places, letting sunlight fall in broken beams. Vines hung from the broken stone. In the middle of the room stood a stone platform, and on that platform, someone was waiting. She was tall, nearly twice Darren's height. Her skin was a smooth silver green, with patterns that moved like smoke. Her eyes were large and glowing, not with fire, but with something deeper. She wore a long cloak that looked part of her body. A thin crown of bone rested on her forehead. Her hands were long, her fingers sharp and graceful. She looked directly at Darren. She did not move. She did not speak. But her voice entered his mind. "You have come at last." Darren stepped back, surprised, but he did not run. His training kept him calm. He looked at her closely. She was not human, not even close. But she was not attacking. She was waiting. He lowered his light and spoke out loud. "Who are you?" Her lips moved slightly, but her voice stayed inside his head. "I am Valari, last of the Zalari queens." I waited through fire and silence. I waited for a human to answer the call. Darren tried to understand her words. The Zalari were only a rumor in Earth records, a species that vanished before humans even reached deep space. Some believed they never existed at all, but now one stood before him, alive and real. "Why me?" he asked. Valari stepped off the platform. She moved with smooth steps, like she was floating. Her eyes did not leave his. She answered without pause. "Because your name was written in the temple code. You carry the mark in your blood. The one who walks alone and chooses light over fear. That is the one who must face what comes." Darren's heart beat faster. He had no idea what mark she meant. He had no special blood. He was a scout pilot who followed orders, yet she spoke with certainty, as if this moment had been planned long ago. "What am I supposed to do?" he asked. Valari looked toward the far wall. Carvings on the stone began to glow. They showed images in motion. A planet burning, ships falling, a black shape in the stars swallowing light. Then a figure stood against it, a figure that looked human. "A force is coming. It moves, through the stars, eating everything. Your world is next. The only way to stop it lies below this temple. But I cannot open the gate. Only you can." Darren stared at the carvings. The black shape looked like a machine, but alive. It had no face. It had no voice. Just hunger. He turned. Back to Valari. "If I help you, what happens to Earth?" Valari's eyes softened. Her voice was slower now. "If you help, Earth may survive. If you fail, nothing will remain." Darren looked around the chamber once more. He felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He had come to explore ruins. He had found something far bigger than ruins. He had found a message written in the bones of time. He nodded slowly. "Then show me the way." Valari led Darren down a narrow stone path that curved behind the chamber. The air grew warmer as they moved deeper into the temple. The walls were filled with glowing lines. Some shifted as they passed, like the temple was alive and watching. Darren kept his hand close to his belt where a small pulse blade was hidden. He did not feel safe, but he also did not feel trapped. Something about Valari's presence felt old and sad, not violent. As they reached the lower level, Valari stopped in front of a tall doorway. It was sealed with a round stone marked with 7 symbols. Darren touched the symbols and felt a light pulse under his fingers. The stone moved slowly to the side. A hallway of glass opened in front of them, and beyond the glass, deep below the surface, was a glowing pool of light. Valari's voice returned to his mind. "This is the Heart Vault. Only one of human blood can step inside. The vault will show you what was lost. It will also test you." Darren looked at her. She stood tall, her eyes glowing with something he could not explain. She did not blink. She did not smile. "What happens if I fail?" he asked. Valari tilted her head slightly. "Then the stars will lose one more light." Darren stepped forward. As he passed through the glass hallway, the air felt heavier. His boots echoed on the smooth floor. The pool of light below changed colors as he walked. Blue, green, white, then red. A soft humming sound filled his ears. When he reached the end of the hall, a platform rose from the center of the pool. He stepped onto it, and everything around him disappeared. Suddenly, Darren stood in the middle of a strange city. The sky above was silver. The buildings were shaped like wings, tall and sharp. Creatures walked around him, tall like Valari, but different. They were proud, peaceful. Their eyes were full of knowledge. He realized he was seeing the past. The city was the Zalari capital. He turned and saw Valari among them, wearing the same crown, her face younger, her eyes full of hope. A loud sound filled the air. A dark shape appeared in the sky. The crowd looked up. Fear passed across their faces. A swarm of black machines poured down, hitting the city like rain. The buildings shattered. The sky turned red. Screams filled the air. Darren watched helplessly. He knew it was not real, but his chest still tightened. The scene shifted again. He now saw a large council chamber. Valerie stood before the elders, arguing in their language. She wanted to fight. They wanted to hide. Then came a vote. Valari lost. The other queens entered stasis deep underground. Valari stayed awake, waiting, hoping, watching the stars. Then came darkness. Everything around Darren turned black. He floated in space, looking at Earth. It was peaceful, blue and green, spinning slowly. Then a black wave came from the stars. It moved fast, faster than any ship. It touched Earth's edge, and in seconds, the colors faded. Darren shouted, but no one could hear. A voice echoed. "What do you choose, Darren? To turn away or to stand and face the storm?" Darren clenched his fists. He was tired of watching. He was ready to act. "I choose to fight." The darkness broke like glass. The real world returned. Darren stood once again on the platform above the glowing pool. Valari stood nearby, watching. Him. Her eyes seemed brighter than before. "You saw it," she said, speaking aloud for the first time. Her voice was soft but clear. "You carry the will to stand. That is rare." Darren nodded. "Why me? I don't feel special." Valari walked toward a wall and placed her hand on it. A small compartment opened, revealing a smooth cube with golden lines. "This is a memory shard," she said. "It holds the records of the war. It also holds the map to the source of the darkness. You must take it to the Gate of Suns. It is the only path left." Darren took the cube. It felt warm in his hand, like it was alive. The lines moved slowly across its surface. Valari turned and walked toward another tunnel. "There is more you must know," she said. "Follow me." As they moved through the temple's lower halls, the design changed. The stone gave way to metal. Lights along the walls blinked with power. Machines slept under glass, some broken, some still humming. The temple was not just a place of worship. It was also a stronghold. Valari stopped near a large door shaped like an eye. "Behind this is the map room," she said. "But once you see it, you cannot go back. The path will become yours alone." Darren stepped forward. The door opened with a soft sound. Inside, the walls were filled with stars. A large table in the center projected a spinning galaxy. One sector blinked red. The signal's origin, Earth's location, the path of the swarm, and one blinking point far from everything else. It was the Gate of Suns. Valari placed her hand on the table. "This map is linked to an ancient ship buried beneath this temple," she said. "A war vessel of my people. It has not flown in 1,000 years. But with your blood it may rise again." Darren stared at the blinking lights. The path was clear. The danger was great, but something inside him had already chosen. "I'll do it," he said. "I'll find the gate. I'll stop the swarm." Valari nodded once. "Then prepare yourself. The past was only the beginning. What comes next will test not only your strength, but your heart." The air inside the map room felt heavy. The stars above the table blinked slowly, showing the path of the darkness across the galaxy. Darren stood still, studying every red mark. Valari stood beside him, silent. Her hands were crossed in front. Of her, her eyes locked on the map. After a long pause, Darren asked, "What is it?" Valari raised her hand and pointed to a small, dark cluster beyond the edge of the map. "This was once the core of our empire," she said. "We ruled over 50 systems filled with life and peace. But the darkness came from beyond even our reach. We called it the Hollow Wave." Darren frowned. "Is it a machine?" "Yes," she answered, "but not one that follows logic. It eats stars, breaks memory, and leaves silence. We believe it was created long ago by beings who feared life. When they vanished, the machine remained, searching for systems with thought and growth." She stepped closer to the edge of the table. "We tried to stop it. We built ships, weapons, and shields. Nothing worked. It learns, it changes, it waits for hope before it strikes." Darren looked at Earth's location on the map. A thin black line was already moving toward it. "Why is Earth next?" Valari replied, "Because Earth shines the brightest now. It builds fast, it learns quickly, it stands alone. The machine always goes after worlds that begin to rise. It wants to stop strength before it spreads. Darren felt a chill in his chest. Then we don't have much time. No, Valari said. You have only weeks, maybe less. The machine does not move in a straight line. It appears where it is least expected. She turned and walked toward a side wall. With a soft touch, she opened a narrow door that led to a staircase going deeper into the ground. Come, she said. There is something else you must see. Darren followed her into the lower chamber. The air grew cooler. Lights in the walls came on as they passed, glowing white and blue. At the bottom of the stairs was a round door marked with ancient symbols. Valari placed her hand on it. The door opened slowly, revealing a large circular room with a raised center platform. In the middle of the platform sat a sphere floating above a metal ring. It was black, smooth, and covered in thin golden lines. It pulsed like a heart. This is the seat of thought, Valari said. It is all that remains of our highest knowledge. It holds language, science, memory, and power. But it also holds the key to awakening our strongest ship. Darren stepped forward. Why can't you use it? Valari looked at him with calm eyes. Because it no longer listens to Zalari minds. The elders sealed it long ago, fearing it would fall into wrong hands. Only a mind that is outside our path can open it now. Darren placed his hand near the sphere. It began to glow brighter. The lines moved faster. A voice, soft and smooth, spoke inside his mind. Human pattern detected. Access possible. Do you accept the burden of memory? Darren nodded. Yes. The sphere glowed even brighter, and a beam of light shot into the ceiling. Images flowed through Darren's mind. Battles in space, planets turning to ash, ships the size of cities falling from the sky, and then the image of a machine core deep in space, cold and alive. He staggered back, breathing heavily. Valari caught his arm. What did you see? She asked. A core, Darren said. It sits in a broken system. Thousands of machines move around it. They protect it. They feed it. Valari stepped back. Then it is worse than I thought. The swarm is fully grown. Darren looked at her. Can it be stopped? She answered without delay. Only by reaching the gate of suns. It is a weapon made by our first creators. Its power is locked behind trials, and no Zalari has ever passed them. But perhaps a human can. Darren nodded. Then that's where I'll go. Valari placed her hand on his chest, just above his heart. Her fingers were light, but her voice was firm. Listen carefully. The journey will be hard. The trials will test your will. The machine will try to speak to you. It will use lies. It will show you what you fear. Do not believe it. I won't, Darren said. Valari stepped away and opened another panel in the wall. A box floated up. Inside was a small device shaped like a coin, glowing blue. This is the heart key, she said. You must place it inside the control core of the ship buried under this temple. It will bind the ship to your mind. Only then can you fly it. Darren took the key and placed it in his jacket. The box lowered back into the floor. Valari looked at him for a long moment. Her face was calm, but her voice carried weight. I waited through time. I watched stars burn. I believed one day someone would come. You are not what I imagined, but you are what is needed. Darren gave a small nod. Then I'll make sure your wait was not wasted. Valari turned and walked toward the exit. Follow me to the ship core. The machine may already know you have the key. We must move fast. As they climbed the staircase again, the ground shook slightly. Dust fell from the ceiling. Darren looked around. Was that an earthquake? Valari's eyes narrowed. No, something has awakened. They reached the main hall. The lights along the walls blinked faster. The map above the table showed new movement. A dark signal appeared near the edge of the system. It was not far. Darren's voice was steady. It's coming, isn't it? Valari spoke with no fear. Yes, the hollow wave has found you. The ground shook again, stronger this time. Cracks formed along the edges of the old temple walls. Dust rained from the ceiling. Darren and Valari moved quickly through the main hall. Lights blinked red along the walls. The ancient systems had sensed something dangerous. We must reach the ship before the hollow wave does, Valari said. Darren followed close behind her. They reached a sealed chamber hidden behind one of the large statues. Valari pressed her palm to a glowing symbol. The wall opened, revealing a spiral staircase made of metal. They descended fast, deeper than before. Below the temple, the air changed. It was colder, stiller. The space was dark, except for soft blue lights along the walls. The sound of their footsteps echoed across metal floors. At the end of the path stood a massive door made from stone and steel. Strange patterns ran across its surface, pulsing slowly. Valari stopped in front of it. Beyond this door is the Zalari warship, she said. It was sealed long ago, hidden from the hollow wave. No one has stepped inside since the fall. Darren took a deep breath. Let's open it. He pulled the heart key from his jacket. The small device glowed brightly in his hand. As he placed it into the center of the door, the patterns around it flared with light. A low hum filled the air. The door split into 4 parts and slid open. Inside was silence. They stepped into a large hangar carved into the mountain itself. The ship stood in the center, its surface dark silver, smooth and strong. It had the shape of a spear, long and narrow, built for speed and power. Wings folded tight along the sides, symbols glowed along its body, waiting to be read. Darren walked toward the entrance ramp. As he did, lights flickered on. The ship was waking. Valari stayed at the edge of the hangar. It accepts you, she said. The ship has chosen. Inside, the ship's walls were covered in strange writing. But as Darren stepped forward, the words shifted into his language. The ship had linked to his mind. It understood him now. The main chamber was circular. A seat rose from the floor in the center, surrounded by floating controls and displays. Darren placed his hand on the main panel. A soft voice spoke inside the room. Pilot confirmed. Human pattern accepted. Ship core reactivating. The displays lit up. Darren saw star maps, weapon systems, shield controls, and a connection to the seat of thought. The ship was more than just a machine. It was alive with ancient knowledge. Valari entered behind him. The ship is ready, but its full power is sealed. To unlock it, you must complete the trials at the Gate of Suns. The gate lies across the broken path. No signal can pass through that region. You will be alone. I understand, Darren said. But first, we need to survive the hollow wave. Valari walked to a side panel and opened a small compartment. Inside were 3 small capsules. She handed one to Darren. This is a neural shield, she said. It will protect your mind from the machine's voice. Wear it at all times. The hollow wave does not fight with only weapons. It speaks. It lies. It shows you what you fear most. Darren placed the capsule on his neck. It clicked into place and activated. A soft ring passed through his head, then faded. The ship's console flashed red. Warning: unknown presence entering system. Hollow signature confirmed. Valari's expression hardened. They found us. Darren sat in the command seat. His fingers touched the controls. The ship responded instantly. It lifted off the floor with a low hum. The roof of the hangar began to open, splitting apart slowly. Light poured in from above. Valari took a seat near the back. Fly fast. Do not face the swarm directly. Reach the gate. The ship shot upward through the mountain. Outside, the planet's sky was darker than before. Thick clouds twisted above. The temple ruins. In the distance, Darren saw the shape of the first hollow drone. It was black, shaped like a spider with wings. Its body had no light, only darkness. More followed behind it. The swarm had come. The ship sped past the valley. The drones gave chase. Darren pushed the engines harder. Blue flames burst from the rear. The ship sliced through the clouds, rising higher into space. Above the planet, more machines waited. The hollow wave did not waste time. Darren turned hard to the left. The ship dodged a beam of red energy. Another passed close to the hull. Alarms blinked. Shields held, but barely. The swarm was fast and smart. They moved together like a single mind. Valari activated a panel near her. Opening the path to the broken zone, it will hide us for a short time. A circle of space ahead opened. With light, Darren aimed for it. The swarm followed, but some were left behind. The ship passed through the tunnel and vanished into the edge of a dead zone in space. Inside the broken zone, stars faded. Communication vanished. Gravity twisted. It was quiet. The hollow wave did not enter easily here. Valari stood and walked to the front. "You did well," she said. "But the road ahead is longer than you know. The Gate of Suns lies beyond the shattered rings. You must pass 3 trials, one for the body, one for the mind, one for the heart." Darren looked at the blank space ahead. "What happens if I fail?" Valari looked down. "Then Earth will fall like the rest." Darren did not speak. He tightened his grip on the controls. He had come for answers. Now he flew toward something more. He flew to save his world. The ship flew silently through the broken zone. No stars could be seen. Only a pale blue glow surrounded the path ahead. Darren kept his hands on the controls, watching every movement of the ship. Valari stood beside him, calm and focused. "We are close," she said. "The Gate of Suns waits beyond the shattered rings." Darren nodded. "What are the shattered rings?" "A defense line made long ago," Valari replied. "It is broken now, but its energy still remains. That energy is the final warning to any who approach the gate." The ship moved forward. Strange shapes floated outside the windows. Giant metal pieces, once parts of space stations, drifted slowly in the emptiness. Darren saw cracked towers, broken satellites, and rings of golden debris spinning in silence. Then the ship shook. A soft voice from the ship's system spoke. "Entering Trial Zone 1. Trial of Flame. All external systems disabled. Pilot must proceed alone." The lights inside the ship dimmed. The engines slowed. Darren looked at Valari. "What now?" She touched his shoulder gently. "Now you face the first trial. It will test your body. It will push your strength, pain, and focus. You must pass it without help." A beam of light rose from the floor around Darren's seat. Before he could speak, the light pulled him upward. In seconds, he vanished. He opened his eyes in a new place. The sky was red and filled with smoke. Mountains of black rock surrounded him. Rivers of fire flowed between the hills. The air burned with heat. Darren stood on a flat stone platform. He wore no armor, only a simple black suit. He heard nothing but the crackling of flames. Then a voice echoed in the air. "Flame does not listen. Flame only tests. Prove you can. Rise!" The ground shook. From the fire came a creature made of burning stone. It stood tall like a giant with eyes made of lava. It held a blade formed from molten metal. Darren had no weapon. The creature stepped forward. Darren ran. He jumped across a narrow gap, barely landing on the next rock. The creature followed, slower but powerful. It swung its blade, sending a wave of fire toward him. Darren dropped to the ground and rolled behind a pillar of stone. The heat burned his side, but he kept moving. He found a small ledge and climbed higher. The air grew hotter, but the wind helped him breathe. He looked around and saw a golden mark glowing in the distance. A symbol shaped like a circle with wings. The voice returned. "Reach the mark. Only then will the trial end." Darren jumped down onto a path of black stone. Lava flowed beside it, spitting sparks into the air. The ground cracked with every step. He pushed forward, sweating, breathing hard but never stopping. The creature followed, breaking rocks with every step. Darren reached a broken bridge. The gap was wide. Fire rose from below. He stepped back, ran fast, and jumped. His body flew through the smoke and landed on the edge. He grabbed a ledge and pulled himself up. The mark was near, but a wall of fire blocked his path. The creature reached the edge of the bridge and pointed its blade. Fire rose high and wide. The heat pressed against Darren like a wall. His vision blurred. His skin stung. He looked down and saw a thin line of blue under the fire. The same blue glow from the ship. It was the path. The flame was an illusion, a test of fear. He stepped forward. The fire passed through him like wind. Darren reached the mark and placed his hand on it. A light burst around him. The sky turned white. The heat vanished. He was back inside the ship. He sat in the command seat again, his body soaked in sweat. His breath was fast. His arms shook, but he was alive. Valari placed a cool cloth in his hand. "You passed," she said. "Your body is strong." Darren nodded slowly. "What's next?" "The second trial," Valari replied. "It will test your mind." The ship's voice returned. Entering Trial Zone 2. Trial of Thought. Mental systems disconnected. Pilot must proceed alone. Again, the beam of light rose around Darren. It pulled him upward. He opened his eyes in darkness. He stood inside a small room with no doors. Only a mirror stood in front of him. He saw himself in the reflection, but the reflection moved before he did. It smiled when he frowned. Then it spoke. "Why do you fight, Darren? You are one man, one life. Earth is already marked. You cannot stop what is coming." Darren stepped forward. "I fight because it's right. I won't let fear win." The reflection changed. It showed Earth burning, cities falling, people running, Darren's family crying out. The voice continued. "You will fail, even with the ship, even with the Queen. You are not enough." Darren closed his eyes. He listened to his heartbeat. He remembered Valari's words. Courage is not silence. It is choosing the hard path. He opened his eyes and stared at the mirror. "I may fall, but I will stand first. That's what matters." The mirror shattered. Light filled the room. He returned to the ship. Valari stood at his side. She placed her hand over his heart. "The second trial is complete. You saw fear and did not bend." Darren breathed deeply. "One more," Valari nodded. "The hardest of all. The trial of heart." The ship's voice echoed again. Entering Trial Zone 3. Trial of heart. Soul pattern tested. Pilot must proceed alone. Darren was lifted once more. He found himself standing in a field of stars. Alone. No sound, no ground. Only stars and silence. Then he saw Earth in the distance. He reached out, but it faded. He heard a voice, his own. "Do you love your world, Darren?" "Yes." "Would you die to protect it?" "Yes." "Would you live to carry its hope, even if no one remembers your name?" Darren closed his eyes. Yes. A single star shined brighter than the rest. It moved toward him. The trial was complete. Darren opened his eyes to the soft hum of the ship's systems, returning to full power. The trials had tested his body, mind, and heart. Now the ship responded fully to his commands. The stars outside the window stretched endlessly. Valari sat, quietly beside him, her gaze steady and calm. "The ship calls itself Warpath," she said softly. "It has waited for a pilot like you to awaken it." Darren's fingers brushed the glowing controls. "It feels alive." "It is," Valari said. "The Warpath holds the last hope of the Zalari, but its power comes with a price." Darren nodded. "I am ready." The ship's systems began scanning the surrounding space. A fleet of small black shapes appeared on the radar. The hollow wave had found them again. "Enemy fleet approaching," the ship announced. Valari stood, her eyes narrowing. "This is no ordinary attack. They want the Warpath." Darren gripped the controls. "Then we give them a fight." The ship launched out of the broken zone, shooting toward the stars. The Black Fleet pursued, fast and relentless. Darren pushed the engines to their limits. Energy shields flared as beams of red light struck the hull. The Warpath's weapon systems came alive. Turrets emerged, firing pulses of blue energy. The battle had begun. Darren's hands moved quickly, dodging attacks and firing back. The black drones swarmed, but the Warpath held firm. Valari's voice guided him. "Focus on the command ships. Break their control." Darren locked onto a larger drone. It exploded in a shower of sparks. More came. The fight was fierce. Time seemed to stretch. Suddenly, an alarm blared. The ship shook violently. "Hull breach detected," the system warned. Darren fought to steady the controls. A large drone had pierced the shield. Flames flickered near the rear engines. Valari activated emergency protocols. "Seal the breaches. Prepare for jump." Darren nodded. The Warpath's power surged as he pushed for the jump coordinates. The Black Fleet closed in, but the ship leaped into hyperspace just before destruction. Stars stretched into lines. The battle faded behind them. Valari turned to Darren. "We are safe for now, but the source node waits." Darren leaned back. "The source node?" "The heart of the hollow wave," Valari explained. "Destroy it, and the swarm dies. But the node is protected by layers of defense. We must be careful." The Warpath moved toward the coordinates. Silence returned to the cabin. After hours of travel, the ship came out of hyperspace near a dead star system. The planets were dark, lifeless. The node pulsed in space like a black heart. Hundreds of smaller drones circled. Darren studied the display. "That is where it all ends," Valari nodded. "Prepare the Key of Suns." Darren reached into his jacket and pulled the glowing orb. It was the prize of the Zalari elders, the last weapon made to fight the darkness. The ship's AI projected a path through the drones. "Warning! High risk!" Darren took a deep breath. No other choice. The Warpath moved forward, weaving through the swarm. Laser fire lit the void. The drones attacked in waves. Darren's hands were steady, each move precise. As they reached the core, the ship's shields dropped dangerously. Low. The node's energy pulsed stronger, trying to break through. Valari's voice was calm but urgent. "Now, Darren." He lifted the Key of Suns to the control panel. The orb fit into a hidden slot. Energy flowed through the ship. Light exploded, outward in a brilliant wave. The node shattered. The drones lost power and drifted lifeless. Silence fell. Darren closed his eyes. The war was over. Valari smiled faintly. "You have done what no Zalari could." Darren looked at her. "What happens now?" Valari's form began to fade like mist. "The galaxy is free, but new challenges will come. You have given hope," her voice whispered. "Thank you, human." And then she was gone. Darren sat alone in the warpath. Outside, stars shone bright again. Earth was safe, but the universe was wide and full of mysteries. And Darren was ready for whatever came next. Darren sat in the command seat of the warpath, watching stars pass by. The battle was over. The hollow wave was destroyed. The black swarm was no more. The galaxy breathed again, but Darren knew this was only the beginning. Earth was safe, but the universe was vast. New threats, new mysteries waited in the dark. Valari's words echoed in his mind. You have given hope, but the future is yours to shape. The warpath systems hummed softly. Darren reached out and touched the controls. The ship's AI responded instantly. It was ready to explore, to learn, to protect. He set a course for Earth. The blue planet grew larger in the window. His home. As they entered Earth's orbit, messages filled the comm. Relief and joy from the Unity Council and the people. Darren sent a message back. A simple one. The darkness is gone. Earth is safe. But Darren felt different now. He was not just a pilot. He was a guardian, a symbol of strength and hope for all, humankind. Valari's presence had changed him, her trust, her belief. The warpath landed near a quiet city. Darren stepped out, greeted by cheers and thanks. People looked at him with wonder. He smiled but kept his heart humble. In the days that followed, Darren shared the story of the Zalari, the Hollow Wave, and the ancient warship. Scientists and leaders listened closely. They learned about the trials, the power of the heart key, and the sacrifices made. Earth began to prepare. New defenses were built. Ships were designed to fly with the warpath. The Unity Council created teams to explore the stars. Darren trained others. He taught them what he had learned about courage and hope. He showed them how to face fear and stand strong. One evening, Darren walked alone to a quiet hill outside the city. He looked up at the stars, shining bright and endless. He whispered, "Thank you, Valari, for waiting, for believing." A soft breeze passed through the trees. For a moment, Darren thought he saw a silver-green light flicker in the sky, like a crown shining among the stars. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but also full of light. And humanity was ready, because even in the darkest times there is always hope, because even one person can change the stars.